Welcome to First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, the birthplace of Congregational Humanism. We carry on that tradition of free thought today, dedicated to promoting a free search for truth, meaning, and justice. Our web address is firstunitarian.org. I'm David Breeden, Senior Minister. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our assembly for Sunday, July 9th, 2023. Whether you're joining us on site or online, we are glad that you are here as part of our gathered community. I'll start first with a car key that was left on the bench outside, a nice Toyota with a house key on it. Anybody want to claim? We could raffle this in the next church auction. Barb, I could give this to you for the church auction later. Anyway, Anne, excellent. The winner. You never know what will happen. I want to just say that one of our ministry staff, the Reverend Dr. J. Exodus Hooper, is downstairs with our young ones for the beginning of our summer Shimmery RE program. And so if there are any young ones in the room here with us, you're welcome to go downstairs. And if you know young ones who might like to participate in our summer RE program, always something different each Sunday now through the end of August. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but anyone is welcome to go downstairs. Our theme this summer is Off the Beaten Path, and these are the words of the Reverend Dr. Carter Hayward. Hayward is an American feminist theologian and a priest in the Episcopal Church, the province of the Worldwide Anglican Communion in the United States. In 1974, she was one of the Philadelphia 11 women whose ordinations eventually paved the way for the recognition of women as priests in the Episcopal Church in 1976. She practiced off the beaten path. And she wrote this: "Love, like truth and beauty, is concrete. Love is not fundamentally a sweet feeling, not at heart a matter of sentiment, attachment, or being drawn toward. Love is active, effective, a matter of making reciprocal and mutually beneficial relations with one's friends and enemies. Love creates righteousness or justice here on earth. To make love is to make justice. As advocates and activists for justice know, loving involves struggle, resistance, risk. People working today on behalf of women, Blacks, lesbians, and gay men, the aging, the poor in this country. She was writing some time ago, so we'll expand that to other identities we know may be marginalized. Know that making justice is not a warm, fuzzy experience. I think also that sexual lovers and good friends know that the most compelling relationships demand hard work, patience, and a willingness to endure tensions and anxiety in creating mutually empowering bonds. For this reason, loving involves commitments. We are not automatic lovers of self, others, world, or God. Love does not just happen. We are not love machines, puppets on the string of a deity called love. Love is a choice, not simply or necessarily a rational choice, but rather a willingness to be present with others without pretense or guilt. Pretense or guile. Love is a conversion to humanity. Love is a conversion to humanity, a willingness to participate with others in the healing of a broken world and broken lives. Love is the choice to experience life as a member of the human family, a partner in the dance of life, rather than as an alien in the world or as a deity above the world, aloof and apart from human flesh. Come, let us gather in community. That's you.
We are Nick and Dianne Rowse, and we're going to play 3 tunes for you on fiddle and harp, Celtic harp. The first tune we'll play is Coilsfield House, a Scottish tune, and then we'll play an American fiddle tune. I'll talk about that a little later, and then we'll play a Swedish tune. This first tune, Coilsfield House, it was in southwest Scotland, near Ayrshire, and it was built for the gentry. And Coilsfield, Coil could also be referring to Old King Cole, their nursery rhyme tune. So it is a wonderful tune, and
begin our assembly by lighting our chalice and remember one of our principles or aspirations. Today it's the 7th principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And then we'll have a song, which is Lean on Me, number 1021.
Thank you, Buckley. And if you will stand as you're willing and able, we'll sing Lean on Me. Now, don't think of singing it in the order that Bill Withers wrote it. Get the feel of Bill Withers, but we'll have the lyrics come up here. It doesn't quite flow exactly the same way. We'll get there, right? Okay.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. We are not strong, I'll be your friend.
Congregational covenant. Love is the spirit of this place, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you. Now, please be seated.
It's great timing, this covenant, because we've been chasing a person around the world here. She's back today. Some of you who were here at the annual meeting might be hearing this for the second time, but it bears repeating. Because each year, the FUS Board of Trustees confers the Dulcin Award on a person or a couple whose contributions, especially of time and talent, help make FUS what it is. These are the people we always see around here, pitching in, lending their hands, and helping us out. These are the people we as a congregation rely on to be there, being human, we know that there is a risk that reliance on these people can drift into a sense of taking them for granted. That these folks will step up to the plate and help us is something that we all appreciate. We're also humble enough to know that as a community, we strive always to deserve the very best of our members that our members can give, and to take a moment to make sure that these key players know how very much they are appreciated. The Dulchin Award is one of the ways that we do this. The board this year has identified one of the members of our congregation as particularly deserving of this recognition. This is a person who, over the course of some 30 years, has become a fixture of this community, contributing to our shared experience in many ways. This recipient volunteered to be a buddy to new members through a program that existed back some 20 years ago. Yeah, we've done these programs from time to time. She has served on numerous committees, including ones focused on supporting settled interim and intern ministers. This is a lot of work. Those of you that have been on the committees know about that. She has served for a number of years on our board, including as its recent chair, and on the nominating committee. She has served also on the board of the FUS Foundation, and was instrumental in the capital campaign, which allowed us to significantly upgrade aspects of our building several years ago. She's a frequent volunteer in the kitchen, which we've made a sure achiever from briefly here, particularly on Sundays when we bake cinnamon rolls or bread for llamas. She even portrayed Michelle Bachmann in a Winter Solstice skit many years ago, a signal achievement if you remember who she was. In all of these instances, and in others beyond them, this year's Dulchin Award recipient has brought to bear considerable intellect and knowledge, combined with thoughtful insights, probing questions, and a subtle humor to have a positive impact on many aspects of FUS. She artfully embodies the best that this congregation aspires to be, and it is great honor and appreciation that the Board of Trustees confers this year's, or actually 2023, that is this year, the Dulchin Award on FUS member Shelley Schreffler. Please come forward. She gets to keep the plaque for about 5 minutes.
First Unitarian Society is a congregational humanist community. We're here for each other. On Sundays, we take a few moments to reflect on the joys and the sorrows and the milestones of the human experience. In doing this, we remind ourselves of the value of a moment of stillness, and we are reminded to stay in touch with our own humanity. As a gathered community, we do this so that no one among us is alone, either in celebrating life's joys or in facing life's burdens and tragedies. We're here for each other. On Monday, July 3rd, FUS member Deborah Hines died after a short and surprising return of her cancer. Deborah was mom to Lori and son-in-law Brandon, and grandmother to Carl and Josie. She was active in Unitarian Universalist congregations in South and North Carolina and in California before moving to Minnesota. Deborah was an avid reader and was a passionate fan of Lord of the Rings. Her online memorial service will be held this coming Saturday, July 15th at 11 a.m., and that time was chosen so that her many friends from around the world could participate. Watch our coming Friday email for the link to connect to that online service on Saturday. Downstairs, you will find a card basket to send a note to Deborah's family and to others in our congregation who could use a little love. You write the card, and we'll send it out for you. Now, we take a few moments to reflect on our world and on those who work to comfort and heal the suffering and those who work for justice.
I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
The second tune we'll play is an American fiddle tune written in 1982 by J. Unger. He wrote it, it's called Ashokan Farewell. Ashokan is a place in the and the Catskills of New York to the northwest of New York City. He runs a fiddle camp, which I believe is still being offered every summer at Ashokan. And his fiddle students asked him to write this tune, which he did. It's become very well known across the world in 1990 with the theme song to the Civil War series by Ken Burns. This tune is called Ashokan Farewell.
thank you, Rouses. So good to have your music here. The first Thursday in May is a big national day. You may not know that, but perhaps some of you do. In 1952, the first Thursday in May was dedicated as the National Day of Prayer. Now, 1952, we were in the midst of the Cold War. Godless communism was a major threat. It was in 1956 that "In God We Trust" was added to our currency. Somewhere around in there, "Under God" was added to the Pledge of Allegiance. It was important to add God to our national symbols. And so the National Day of Prayer was added in 1952, a time for the country to come together and people of all different faiths, so it was said, to come together and have a thought for the good of the country. Let's give it a benevolent, in our hearts here today, let's give it a benevolent cast for those who were creating it, all right? In 2003, a group of secular folks, humanists among them, came together and created the National Day of Reason on the first Thursday in May and said this is a counter to the National Day of Prayer. The National Day of Reason was a way of saying it's, first of all, unconstitutional to use taxpayer money and space to hold national days of prayer in civic public spaces, to use our taxpayer money for that sort of thing. And they said, we're going to have a National Day of Reason. So, fine. I can tell you that the National Day of Prayer probably gets more interest and press, but in Minnesota, the National Day of Reason has a very respectable event in the Minnesota State Capitol, and I was delighted to go this year to the National Day of Reason. It was in the lovely ground floor room. It's a vaulted, kind of low vaulted ceiling. It's round. The acoustics are quite wonderful. And there were several organizations there, including FUS, the Humanists of Minnesota, Oremet, the Humanist Jewish Congregation, a number of other groups and some justice-oriented groups, including Out Front Minnesota, including Unrestrict Minnesota. There were just several, and there were lots of great speakers, including Andrew Seidel, who is the Vice President of Strategic Communications for Americans United for the Separation of Church and State. He was terrific. Andrew Seidel was just terrific, and he gave a very impassioned and cogent speech about the rise of white Christian nationalism and the dangers of Christian nationalism as an ideology, not as a faith movement. Let's be very careful to understand that white Christian nationalism is a perversion of a faith movement. It's an ideology tied to a political movement of authoritarianism, and he really laid it out. He was very good, and I think he's got a book out about it. There are several books about it right now. The person whose reading I did at the beginning, Carter Hayward, has a book out right now called The 7 Deadly Sins of White Christian Nationalism. So there's a lot to be said even from people of faith about that. Our own Audrey Kingstrom was an organizer of that day, and she had some powerful remarks as well. But something that morning stuck in my craw. There was one fellow from one organization, I can't remember which one, who got up and said, to begin his remarks, "Nothing fails like prayer." Nothing fails like prayer. And that just kind of ticked me off a little. I just thought, why'd you have to do that? If we can't have a positive message without denigrating other folks for what they do, what's our point? I got it. I got why he did it. It was sort of an insider crowd. He got a laugh. It was a laugh line. But it felt like a cheap laugh to me, and I've thought about it since, and I've thought about how I don't want us to be those kind of humanists. And I think for the most part, we are not. This congregation itself has changed quite a bit from a kind of crusty humanism to a happier humanism. Listen to you laugh. See? A positivism in humanism. We are about something rather than against something. We say we are humanist as a positive statement more often than we say we are atheist as an anti-statement. And I think that's important. And I think we have some way to go on this. So I want to spend a little time talking about why that struck me as a humanist who prays, why I am a humanist who prays, and what that means to me. I titled my talk today, "It's All Relationships All the Time." When I was an intern doing my ministerial internship, I say to you, Buckley, doing your ministerial internship, I was in a congregation and I realized early on, wow, it was all relationships all the time. You're related to you, and you're related to you, and you're related to you, and you've been in that conversation with you, and all of the relationships all of the time. And as complex as our relationships are within this congregation, so are our relationships outside complex, and rightly so. And so how we navigate the complexity of relationships, the complexity of pluralism, is an important one for us to work on. So many of you know that I grew up in a fundamentalist religion. We didn't call it that at the time, but that's surely what it was. Baptized in a lake at church camp when I was 12 years old. I can still recite some scriptures. We were Bible believers. And I left that, and one of the best things that becoming a minister, perhaps even before that, becoming a Unitarian Universalist did for me was to help me make peace with the theology that I rejected. To help me make peace with the theology that I rejected. I don't have to make it wrong anymore. There were things I learned there that I still carry with me. What it means to be in a congregation together. What it means to care for each other and know when someone's sick. To stand up and sing songs together. To play music together. Well, I didn't learn that in the church I grew up in. No instrumental music. We were that far to the right. And I'm not sure what I learned about prayer there that wasn't sort of rote. But I remember at church camp sitting on a log fire, sitting around a log fire after I'd been baptized, soaking wet, full immersion. And the idea that Jesus, this character who was like the coolest guy in high school, was sitting behind me. This notion of the best of us could be an inspiration. That I think I have not let go of. letting go of all the saving, letting go of the pearly gates and the streets of gold, but that the best of us is an ideal that we hold and can reach toward. That's what my humanism is based in. I don't think I would do the justice work that I do today if it had not been for that basis that I grew up in. The Sermon on the Mount as a prescriptive for the way we should be in the world. It was Kierkegaard. I didn't know a thing about Kierkegaard. Only later in seminary did I learn, after I'd rejected all of that, was unchurched for many years, became a Unitarian Universalist, and heard a call to ministry, and went to seminary, that I learned these words that have stayed with me, that prayer does not change God or not God. Prayer changes us. Prayer changes the one who prays. Prayer does not change something else. It changes us. It is a posture of humility. So many of you know that I'm a person in long-term sobriety in a 12-step program, and with my sponsees, we say the Serenity Prayer almost every day, right? You can say the Serenity Prayer without using the word God in it. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That lives in some of us. I see you say it along with me. That changes me, not something else. So I disagree with the fellow who says nothing fails like prayer. Prayer changes me. It invites me into a posture of humility. And so I wonder about us as humanists. What invites us into a posture of humility? Certainly, we don't share a certainty of knowing exactly what happens after we die. We don't share a certainty of knowing that this is God and this is not God, and many people of faith have an exact certainty that's comforting to them. I think we're humble in that way. We're humble in the understanding that the scientific method unfolds, that truth and evidence is unfolding. There is humility to know that what we know now is not all that will be known. But we can be fairly rigid in not wanting to hear about things that others believe. And there are those among us in this room who have a more expansive understanding of spirituality, of soul, of mystery, than a colder humanism would allow space for. We are not all humanists of one stripe. And so I invite us into that humility and curiosity of knowing that others share that as well. That is the complexity of love in the room, navigating the complexity of those relationships. I wonder how pluralistic we humanists can be. Religious pluralism in a democratic state means that every individual has the right in a religiously diverse society to have the rights and the freedoms and the safety to worship or not according to their conscience, right? That's the sort of the definition of religious pluralism. And I will say in the 247 years of this country, it has been honored more in the concept than in the observance of it. In many Unitarian Universalist spaces, religious pluralism means that each of us and each religion has a piece of the truth. But if we humanists believe that over here live the religions, but we're not religious, we're over here, we wall ourselves off a bit from some of those truths. And I think it's useful to know that. The organization, the Interfaith Youth Corps, says that diversity is a fact, pluralism is an achievement. Diversity is a fact, pluralism is an achievement. And that equals a respect for religious identities, mutually inspiring relationships across religious boundaries, common action for the common good. Religious diversity is a foundational American strength. And I think to the extent that we are willing to be religious, bound together, religare, bound together, we can participate in that common action for the common good. David Breeden, our senior minister, often says that we straddle both worlds, the secular and the religious. Many of us tend more to the secular side. I'm hopeful that we can strengthen our religious muscle so that we can participate with the very good work that people who claim themselves as religious are doing. I'll just say to you that I was at an event on Friday night. I went to a bonfire that was hosted by one of our congregants. We were meeting some trans folks. It was a trans welcome space. And there were a couple of women there who said to me, wow, gee, you look familiar. Do I know you? And we identified that we had been at the Capitol at the same time on one of the many rally days, one of the many lobby days this year. And one of them was from a very secular, non-religious background, and one of them was deeply committed as a Christian. And we were both there, we were all three there, lobbying for trans rights. And so I dare not make assumptions about what brings someone to a space to lobby out of their values, or that their Christianity is opposed to the same work that I've shown up to do. My colleague, the Reverend Kristen Grashel-Smith, says, I call the person who shouldn't ever be exposed to theology they don't agree with as theologically fragile. Sometimes I'm theologically fragile. I want to build up the muscle of curiosity and courage so that I can be present and curious with people whose identities and theological commitments don't line up with mine, so that I can ask questions about where we do have intersections, what we can find together. I'll close with these words of Alice Walker, continuing with the theme of love and the idea that we should be in the work of building up and not damaging anyone out of our faith commitment, that we don't write anyone off. Alice Walker says, love is not concerned with whom you pray to or where you slept the night you ran away from home. Love is concerned that the beating of your heart should kill no one. May it be so, and may we make it so. And so let's sing a song that some of us may know, but I don't think we've ever sung here before. Number 1053, how could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? We're going to sing it 2 or 3 times through. It's very short. 10:53, the words will appear up here. Please stand as you're able.
How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. More. How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Please be seated.
Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Pileggi. I'm a proud member of this congregation for many years and also in the Board of Trustees. Just a friendly reminder that we are into our new fiscal year and that your contribution is needed and welcome. The bills, as a member of the Board of Trustees, I can see where the money goes and the need. So your continued contributions here are really appreciated. And just a follow-up, our dear families from the Ukraine are on their way. 2 of the 3. 2 of the 3 will be here this coming week, and the 3rd will be here at the end of the month. So thank you all for your contributions to getting them here. And I'm on one of the 3 teams, and I know more about one of the families than the other 2, and this family is just wonderful. So thank you again.
Thanks, Mike. I'll just say, if you'd like to make a financial contribution today, you can do so in one of several ways. The Venco mobile app, PayPal, our electronic kiosk downstairs, or you can stop by the office with a check. We'll take your money any way it comes. Thank you for your support. Bob, was that the Ukraine announcement that you wanted to make? Is somebody going to say we raised over $52,000? $52,000 for these 3 families that are coming. That's a big deal. Thank y'all. Thank you for the teams that have been working on that. Okay, just a few announcements. For those of you who are on site, please join us downstairs for our mini meal today. Orange chicken or sweet and sour tofu and very veggie fried rice. At noon today, we will hold our monthly Welcome to FUS session at noon. If you're new around here or would like to learn more about the society, please come to my office at noon, or it will be online. That's just down the hall to the left out of here. This week and continuing through August 22nd, the Reverend Dr. J. Exodus Hooper, August 27th, is our summer ministry RE specialist, leading our youth in the Shimmery Summer RE program, religious education, for young ones entering grades 1 through 7. Downstairs in the Chalice Room will be the place to be. There are still room for volunteers to be with us, so if you'd like to take a break from the upper assembly hall, even though it's fascinating up here, You could do something really fascinating downstairs, too. There'll be a table downstairs in the lower assembly hall, and we can talk to you about what's going on. Next week, Mickey Morissette will be our Mickey Morissette will be our guest speaker, and speaking about hometown values and visions. Mickey is the owner and editor of the Minnesota Women's Press, and she says, explore where Minnesotans are engaging the evolution of collective oneness. We'll also have violinist Zach Klein and guitarist Dean McGraw here making their FUS debut. So good music here next week. Thank you so much for that, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Please join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All of these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again.
This last tune we'd like to play for you is a Swedish fiddle tune called Wiggert's Polska. A Polska is a Swedish name for a polka. It's a couple's dance and a very lively tune, and we hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Go out into the world, be fearless, ask questions, hold on to what is good. Strengthen the weak, comfort the fearful, serve the suffering, do what makes you come alive. Rejoice in the power of the human spirit. So may it be.